It's lovely this, isn't it? Being outside in nature. It kind of makes you feel good, doesn't it? We've known that for a long time, you know. Go for a walk, you'll feel better. But did you know there's more to it than that now? There's more to going for a walk than just feeling better. In actual fact, there's a massive body of research that shows the power of the outdoors, whether that's walking in places like this, or going to a local park, or the seaside, or the mountains, anywhere really. It makes us feel good. So in this week's episode, we're going to be doing a deep dive into how the great outdoors changes us for the better. There's now a massive body of evidence to show that just being in spaces like this have profound impacts on how we feel about ourselves, about the world around us. It can help with our recovery, both physical and emotional. And in this week's Brink, we're going to be exploring that. We're going to be exploring the power of the great outdoors, how it impacts us, shapes our world, and can help bring us back from the brink of just about everything. Hi, my name is Matt. I'm a journalist and a therapist. I've been working in both fields for years, and I found that some of the most interesting ideas about psychology never really get spoken about, whether it's the origins of psychology, how our brains work, or simply sharing some of the best techniques I've learned over the years I've worked as a therapist. The Brink is all about uncovering the world of mental health in a simple, easy to understand way that hopefully helps demystify what goes on inside our heads. Welcome to the Brink. We've known going outside has been good for us for thousands of years. The ancient Greeks have been talking about it way back in 5 BC. They prescribed the outdoors as a remedy for certain ailments, for example. Fast forward to 1834, and a man named Donald Walker published a book called British Manly Exercises, a manual for the great outdoors. The book, while having, let's be honest, a terrible title, directly spoke about how exercise and being outside could help improve the mental faculties. Elsewhere in Victorian England, as hospitals for the mentally unwell sprung up, so did gardens and outdoor spaces for them to work in. The Bethlehem Royal Hospital, where we take the word Bedlam from, still maintains today 270 acres of green space, including orchards, meadows and bluebell woods. It is also a walled garden run by its occupational health team. More on that later. Even good old Sigmund Freud was a fan of the great outdoors. Many of Freud's central ideas emerged on long country walks. In one of his essays, Freud wrote about a wonderful wood full of ferns and mushrooms where you must reveal to me the secrets of the world of lower animals and the world of children. Sounds a bit odd, but what he was talking about was how useful the spaces were for him to think about it. Fast forward to today, and there's now a mountain of studies that show that being outdoors or in green spaces can help improve our mood, reduce our feelings of stress and anger, improve our physical health, our mental health, and even help us feel more active, make connections, and provide peer support. But that is not all. In a study conducted at a Chicago public housing development, residents of buildings with more trees and grass reported that they knew their neighbours better, socialised with them more often, had stronger feelings of community, and felt safer and better adjusted than did residents of more barren but otherwise identical buildings. By barren I mean fewer green things. In another study conducted in the same city, women who lived in apartment buildings with trees and greenery reported feeling less angry and less likely to use violence in their relationships. But it goes even further than that. Dr. Chin Lee, a medic at the Nippon Medical School in Tokyo, found that forest bathing, walking very slowly through woodland for 2 hours, lowers stress hormones, lowers blood pressure, boosts the immune system, and even helps improve sleep quality. But why? That seems a bit odd. Well, in his book, The Healing Art of Forest Bathing, I'll drop a link to that below, Lee found forests are full of a compound called phytoncides, which are essentially a tree's natural oils that help it defend itself. When Ching Li ran an experiment with 12 middle-aged men, he wanted to see what the impact of that would be. For 3 nights, they slept in hotel rooms where Li and his team diffused the essential tree oils full of these phytoncides into the rooms of the sleeping men. The results, well, shocked him. He found the patient's white blood cell count, those cells that can help prevent cancer and kill diseases and viruses that have been infected, went up. The men also reported having lower stress hormones, they slept longer, they reported lower scores of tension, anxiety, anger, fatigue, and confusion. I mean, it goes on. Other studies have found that even a mere glimpse of nature from a window or even photographs of nature can improve people's overall mood, mental health, and life satisfaction. But why? Why does nature and the outdoors seem to have these profound effects on who we are and how we feel? Well, there are a number of views on why it's so powerful. American biologist Edward O. Wilson came up with a term called biophilia. It's an idea based on the assumption that humans have an innate need to affiliate with each other and affiliate with life as well outside of that, including plants and animals. That's because, says O. Wilson, more than 99% of our evolutionary history was spent immersed in nature. Biophilia, says the theory, is genetic, meaning those humans who are closely connected to nature throughout history would presumably have had better access to food and fresh water. So, for example, someone who lived close to a river, near vegetation, or with an animal as a protector, like a dog, would have had survival advantages over those who didn't. So people who maintained a better relationship with nature had a better chance of survival, and then were more likely to have more offspring, and it perpetuated the cycle over and over again. This idea of nature connectedness is related to a branch of psychology called eco-psychology. This theory is based on the idea that needs of humans and nature are interdependent. That means human health suffers if nature suffers as well. See global warming. But this isn't just a theory. This work is already being implemented by mental health charities all over the world, and I'm going to show a few of them. There are dozens of programs across the world that have built on this idea that being outside can be beneficial to ourselves, and the data is now supporting this. I've broken down this next section into distinct categories. There are lots of different types of therapeutic experiences that you can go and access that are slightly different from each other. So let's start with horticultural therapy. This involves the use of plants and garden-related activities to help improve how we feel. This has been used to treat stress, burnout, substance abuse, as well as in some cases of social isolation among the elderly, even treat loneliness. One of my favourite versions of this is the Natural Growth Project. This is a charity that works with victims of torture and abuse, and each member is given their own allotment to work on to grow fruits and vegetables. Those on the allotments are then visited weekly by a psychotherapist and a gardener, and the role of the gardener in the allotments is not only to provide a place of peace, but to offer space where the client is able to process and reenact his or her trauma through the work to help lay those traumatic experiences to rest and probably make some nice food in the process. I'll drop links to all these projects in the caption below. So moving on, another type of therapy based on nature's ability to change us is what's called wilderness therapy. This is as it sounds. Groups of men and women, but sometimes single-sex groups, head out into the wilderness with therapists and experts in tow. The Wilderness Foundation in the UK is just brilliant at this. It works with young people who have had challenges around employment, drugs, alcohol addictions, domestic violence, trauma, self-harm, and a range of other mental health issues. They're active in the UK, South Africa, and Europe, so go check those out. Next is animal-assisted therapy. This is where animals play a key role in aiding people's recovery. One of the most common at the moment is equine assisted therapy. This incorporates horses into the therapeutic process. Here, people engage in activities such as grooming, feeding, and leading a horse while being supervised by a mental health professional. What's interesting about this work is that because all communication with animals is basically non-verbal, patients working with horses found that they have to learn to be more in touch with their own internal feelings when working with horses. Our horses are much more tuned to people's emotional states and therefore more likely to be startled. I actually worked as a photographer in a prison in Arizona a few years ago that does this work for offenders, and the results have been amazing. In the UK, the Priory Group has been using equine assisted therapy for several years, and this is what they have to say about it. Working with a one-ton animal has allowed many of our patients to explore and express difficult emotions that sit-down environments haven't been able to do, said Dr. Niall Campbell, a consultant psychiatrist who set up the program here in the UK. Then there's Hen Power. This project makes me cry every single time I watch the video they made about it. Again, I put a link below in the comment section. This is a UK charity that brings together older people and hen keeping to combat loneliness and depression and improve well-being. The results have been amazing. They now work in 40 care homes across the UK. The hens basically give people purpose, opportunities to socialise, and have been incredible at combating loneliness.
Oh, a lot of the time I would just sit in the house watching telly. I mean, my wife died 9 years ago. There wasn't nothing left in my life, really.
The trouble is, everybody's getting old, you get to know them, you know, and they lost a lot of friends, like.
So there you go. Hope you can see now the power of nature to improve our lives, both emotionally and physically. And the best thing, it's completely free. These spaces, you know, whether you're in England like me or anywhere, are available to anybody at any point. So what are you waiting for?